Hello, welcome to a levitating discussion. I mean, yogic science discussion. No, what about mystic science discussion? Oh, all those names already taken by Mr. The great and great Jaggi Sadhguru Vasudev. So I had to come up with a different name. I'll think about it. So here today's discussion is about, is it possible to levitate? Is it? Surprise, surprise. What do you think Mr. Jaggi going to say? Finger crossed. Let's see what Mr. Jaggi has to say. Jaggi, surprise me.
Levitation. See, now I'm levitating. See? How could it happen? Is it what you're asking, or is it possible?
Is it possible?
Okay, so someone is asking a question, is it possible, levitation, is it possible, how it happens, can you levitate? And what do you think Jaggi is going to say? So Jaggi cannot bring himself to say no to a question like this. He has to defend all the mythological stories. He has to defend all Purana stories. He has to defend all the Vedic beliefs. He has to defend all the superstition just because they are religious belief, just because they are Hindu religious belief. So what is levitation? A person who hold himself aloft in a stable position without any mechanical support, without any other physical contact either, against the gravitational force. So that's supposedly a concept, but it's not real. Here we are talking about Indian ascetic like himself, or sadhu, or sannyasi, samyar, any rishi, yogi, whatever you may want to call, who supposedly levitates. No one ever levitated before. All the levitation stories are just stories. Some street sadhus, or those yogis, use these some kind of illusions or hidden mechanical levers to impress ordinary Indian people and make a living out of it. So that's where this levitations and the stories of levitations comes. Can a human magically defy gravity? The answer is no, unless you are a metal or a magnet pulled by another magnet. An ordinary human body cannot defy gravity. Whatever yoga you can do all you want, you just cannot defy gravity. Let Jaggi believe whatever he wants, and his worshipper believe whatever the fake story he tells. My contention is his abuse of science. He has no fundamental knowledge in science. Here the question asked was levitation. Is it possible? How does it happen? And can you do it? And let's see what he has to say.
See? Is it possible? It is possible. How does it happen?
Surprise.
There are many ways, or there are certain ways through which you can become less and less available to gravity. There are certain practices, certain kriyas through which you become less available to gravity. Because of this, one may levitate, it's possible. Or When your Kundalini raises with tremendous force, one may not levitate, but you can see one's body just taking off by itself and landing. It doesn't stay there, but it takes off and lands, takes off and lands. If you make a little effort, without any effort it's happening, but if you make a little effort, with little effort, when the energy is high, it happens. You must have heard of… you heard of
Jaggi, he never disappoints. He never ever disappoints. So how do you make yourself less available to gravity? I know about rocket science, and I learned quite a bit about rocket science in my life. Without equal and opposite force to the gravitational force, you cannot rise against the gravity. So what is this Kundalini force is he talking about? Is it flatulence? Is it fart? The opposite force, are you talking Jaggi? So to rise from the surface of the earth in air, you have to impart a force on the air around you, and that force must be equal and opposite to your weight, otherwise you will not rise. So I don't know what magic force you're talking about, unless it's a tremendous amount of fart or flatulence. There's no way your body just going to magically rise. You can name it Kundalini or any Sanskrit name you want. It's not going to work, Jaggi. It never works. Okay, he has more to say.
the lady saint in Tamil Nadu, Mayamma, you heard of her? Nobody knew where she came from, but it looked like her features said that she must have been a Nepali. But she never spoke. She was in Kanyakumari, the very tip of southern India. Her friends were always dogs. She had a whole band of dogs behind her. She was so involved with these dogs that she would steal food from hotels. You know, in the small hotels they kept all these vada and other things. She'll just go grab it and put it for her dogs. So many times people even physically handled her. People would beat her, throw stones at her, because she grabs food from everybody and gives it to the dogs. She never spoke. Then people found certain times when people went and watched her, she would be just floating on the waves of the ocean. She would just sit like this and simply float. So because of that, people stopped bothering her. You know, they would protect their food, of course, but they wouldn't abuse her physically in any way because they saw her floating on the ocean. There are many ways you can make yourself less available to gravity. Can I do it?
Wow. So this is a typical Jaggi. So when someone asks question and he's going to say some answer with a scientific background, and before he goes to the science part, he just brings some stories, always some folklore stories, and it kind of takes time. Then he goes on to say all fake stuff, nothing to do with science. So that's just typical. So floating on water is defying gravity? No, floating on water is not defying gravity or levitation, Mr. Jaggi. By the way, you cannot float on water by sitting on it because it violates the buoyancy principle, or you may have heard Archimedes' principle. In order for you to be buoyant on water, in other words, the buoyant force the water exerts on your body will be only equal to the weight of the water that your body displaces. What that means is, for you to float on water, you have to immerse most of your body volume in order for the water to exert enough force on you so you can float. So no, Jaggi, sitting on the water not going to work. Standing on the water not going to work. You just simply made that up. Maybe you heard the story, it was a folklore, but no, humans cannot sit on water unless they use other material underneath, like a boat, right? So no, so anyone can float on the water, especially on seawater. If you float on your fresh water, obviously you can float on seawater because it's a little bit denser. So I used to play in in beaches, so I just go. I'm a very terrible swimmer. I can only swim like 100 meters. After that, I get tired and I just flip on my back and float on my back. So when I play near the waves, I float on my back. Then the waves take me towards the into the sea. So be careful when you float on the water near the waves. The waves take you inside. So then I had to work hard to come back. So anyway, so that's my story. So again, you can float on water on your body. You don't sit on the water. And see what
I want to walk on the planet.
let's see if he can levitate. And what do you think he's going to say? Surprise, surprise.
I have no intention of floating.
Of course.
Certain people who follow the path of Hatha Yoga usually do these feats.
Of course. Of course. He's going to say he has no intention. But otherwise, anyone can ask him, just do it. Let me see, right? So what's this magic Hatha Yoga? The Hatha Yoga is doing certain postures and breathing techniques. So no, Hatha Yoga, you can do all the Hatha Yoga you want to do. It won't raise your body against gravity. It's just not going to do it, okay?
It is of no life significance. Now, if you float or if you levitate for a few minutes in a day, in what way does it alter your life? Our whole effort here is that you can walk through life very much on the ground, but you can walk through life no matter what happens with your life. No matter what kind of situations you face, you go through life untouched, still like a child as you were born. How many things happen in your life? It doesn't matter. How many things go wrong? Everything goes dead wrong. Every day is a crisis, but still you go untouched through life. This is a miracle. I want all of you to perform this miracle. On your deathbed, if you are like just born, that means you have performed a wonderful miracle of going through life untouched. That's possible. So, we are interested in performing that miracle. Floating in the air, walking upon the water, what will you do with it? 3 days if you walk upon the water, it'll be fine when you get all the attention. Every day if you start walking upon the water, nobody will look at you. They'll all take their speedboats and they'll go. Then you will also…
So the question was, is levitation possible? How it happens, and can you do it? And did he answer it? He said answered yes to all, but he's not going to do it because he's not interested. If he say he can do it, then you're going to ask, show me, right? So of course he's going to say he's not interested, and he come up with all these explanation of why he's not interested. Wow, Mr. Yogic Science, Mystic Science guy, he doesn't want to do that he can do just because he's not interested. Wow, what a surprise. So you're not going to levitate because you see no use to it, Jaggi? Don't you want to show us that you can defy gravity? So are you saying Hatha Yoga is useless? So what's the point of listening to you, giving money to you when all the listeners gain nothing from you? They still have to go to doctors. They still have to rely on science to better their life, in day-to-day life, daily life. Then what's the point of your yogic science? What's the point? Oh, I tell you what. The point of your so-called fake yogic science is, like those street sadhus and samyars, you make fool of the so-called educated class, the modern city-dwelling English-speaking class, so they can give you money, so you can buy luxurious motorcycles, so you can fly first class around the world, so you can tour around the world and stay at 5-star luxurious hotels, so you can get this Padma Bhushan award from stupid politicians and raise your street cred among other fellow samyars, among other fellow yogis, among other fellow mystics, so you can stand out among them, among the other yogi samyar crowd. Don't you, Jaggi? That's all it is, right? Of course that's the point, Jaggi. Of course that's the point.
I wish you had a boat, isn't it?
Of course, that's the point. Well, what else he's going to say? He's going to say, oh, magically, I'm going to show you. Let's see, I'm levitating. No, he's not going to do it. He's going to come up with some reason for why he's not going to do it. But he's not going to say, I can't do it. The yogis cannot do it. He's never going to say it. That's his gig. To justify with this fake science, everything about some yogi and adi yogi, all those stuff. And when it comes to practical, he's going to say, I'm not interested. You fools, you are giving me all this money to tell me I will do it only when I want. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me 3, 4, 5 times, still shame on you. Stop worshipping this guy. Please stop.